Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Dale.
We're sisters and best friends, and this is Proof It's Possible.
Jamie and I are complete opposites, but somehow through every stage of life, we stay on the same team. We're kicking the door wide open and sharing our morning coffee chats with you.
Join us as we chat about everything from chasing our dreams to entrepreneurship to family, friendship, and what other craziness we have going on that week.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Hey, that's my line. Come on.
Right. Sorry. You say it.
Welcome back.
This week's your week. You say the intro. Hello.
This episode is all about mistakes we've made in business.
Mm-hmm. This is a juicy one because it's like, at first I was like, I can't think of any, but I know I've made
At first she was like, I can't. I'm perfect. I've never made a mistake.
No, let me finish. I was about to say, I know I've made a million, but what are they? You like get past the mistake and then basically want to forget about it because
you have PTSD, so your brain protects you from that memory.
But once you get onto your mistakes, it's like, oh yeah. There's millions. There's actually one.
I have a laundry list.
Me too. Okay, what's yours? You start.
Oh, okay. My biggest one is not biggest, they're all equally as bad, but not taking a deposit. Totally. When someone hires me for my services, not making them put any skin in the game, therefore they can cancel appointments. When I was auditing a lot, this would often happen. They'd book me a year out and be like, I need you to audit my business on this date. And so I would clear my schedule and then it would get closer to, and they'd be like, oh, I found someone to do it cheaper. Never mind.
Yeah. Well, yours actually feeds right into my first one. And it's even a bigger version of just getting that deposit. And it's not having a full contract. So it includes, for me, the contract includes an outline of exactly what we're actually doing together. And it doesn't just protect me, it protects the client too. They'd have in writing what I have said I was going to do. And I have in writing what I said I was going to do. And there's been times where I'm like, this contract doesn't include that. And then I go back and look and I'm like, no, it does. And you have to do it. And I'm happy to do it once I realize that it was my error. But having a contract and everything written down is critical. And then that contract is not complete. You can't just sign it without a deposit, period. The contract doesn't start until the money and the signature both are in place,
Well, people often think that a contract is to protect one party and not both, but it's actually to protect both parties. So absolutely. If you're designing a website and they thought X, Y, and Z was included, but it's clearly stated in the contract that it's not, it just is that clarification for both people. And then on the flip side, if they were well, no, you said that you were going to do X, Y, Z and see it's in the contract, therefore you are responsible for providing me with that. It's to protect both parties so that you go into it knowing exactly what the expectation is, what the service is, whatever you paid for, all of the things. I 100% you need a contract.
Well, and when we are in our own businesses, we know what we offer. We know what these things mean. You doing an audit, to me, that's you saying, I do square dancing. I have no idea what you're doing to do an audit. I have no idea what that means. But if somebody told me you need an audit, I'd be on the hunt for an auditor. And I need you to write down, what am I getting out of it? What are the steps you're going to be providing, or details?
What are the expectations? What's the information I need? What's the, yes.
Exactly. How much of a role do I play in it in order to get you to be able to do the job, as the customer, and all these things. So that's where a contract is crazy important.
Totally.
What's some other ones? I have a good one. Wanting to over deliver. And so I believe in over delivering for my clients, surprising them with how great of a job I can do. That's something I take great pride in. But knowing the line where I don't get resentful about providing more than I'm being compensated for, providing more, and what's happened to me in the past is it's a slippery slope where I'm like, you know what, I can just do this one thing because although the bathroom wasn't included in the design, It's just a paint color. I can provide another paint color. It's okay. Just being like grateful for the business and wanting to work with my client. But like the truth is standing firm in my own process, and that I don't just do extra rooms for free. Those take time and money and
intellectual property.
Exactly. My
Like, I feel like when you're in the service industry, people often forget that the service you're providing is your intellectual property. It's no different than like going to the store and being like, well, I paid for a chocolate bar, therefore I'm going to take a bag of chips too.
Yeah.
Because I already paid for the chocolate bar. So that's silly that I wouldn't just get the chips for free. It's the same when you're offering a service. Sure. Like, they paid for the living room and now they want the bathroom for free. Well, that's not exactly how it works.
Totally.
But it's so easy to
I made the wrong impression though. Because if I do just the paint color in that bathroom, next thing you know, what art, what flooring, what
vanity,
mirror, what vanity. And it's like, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up, but I put my toe in the water of breaking the contract I sort of have with myself. And that's, they paid for a room and I'm to provide that room, not the other rooms. I needed to stop that. It's no different than the cashier at the store who sold the chocolate bar and was like, yeah, you know what? You can have the chips too. And then the next day the person comes back and is like, here's my chips and chocolate bar, but I'm only paying for the chocolate bar again. That it becomes what the client expects because you set up a bad situation where they are right to expect that because you did it once. So why wouldn't you do it again?
Mm-hmm. And it's boundaries. I mean, business or personal, that's how boundaries slowly erode and become new boundaries or non-existent boundaries. Yeah, totally. That's a common mistake I think people often do.
And I think people pleasers do it. Like, I'm a people pleaser. I'm definitely like got that as my default to just be like, oh, what's the big deal? I could throw that in. I could do the right thing. I could do, and I framed it as this really positive thing. But, 6 months into the project, when I'm now on to their fourth bathroom and I'm upstairs in the kids' bedrooms, I'm like, whoa, how did I get here? Where did this house, or I've had it with clients where I thought, oh, this person wrote me at 11 o'clock at night. I'm still up. I could write them back. Mm-hmm. And protecting your time is a hugely important thing because it's like, I don't really work in the evenings. I don't love working on the weekend either. So although I will occasionally have a Saturday morning or Sunday morning where I put in a few hours and may answer an email or a text message or something from a client, that's not my regular. So I have to be careful about that because then the client starts only writing you in the evenings because that's when they're available.
Well, and this reminds me of like back in my auditing days, during the like recession and things weren't great in the industry that I was working in, and they were like, well, could you like knock a couple $100 off your day rate? And then you agree to it once and that becomes your new normal. And then the next time they're like, well, the industry is not great and you were here before and we're just asking you to knock a couple, like $150 off your day rate. And next thing you know, you're at like a quarter of what you used to get paid. And you're like, how did I get here? How has this been possible? But that's what happens when you don't have strong boundaries in business and you're willing to just like do it because you kind of got bullied into it or you felt like your services, you're not standing firm in that you're worth what you're charging or your time is valuable to you and you need to honor the time boundaries that you've set up for yourself. Such a slippery slope.
Such a slippery slope. And like resentfulness is bound to follow. That's
absolutely.
It's a promise.
The other thing that I do is that I sometimes underestimate how long a project's going to take me. Mm-hmm. And then I can get resentful in the fact that I'm like, well, I'm not even charging for this time because I made the mistake in underestimating how long it would take. But that's a big mistake is that like knowing and writing down how long exactly tasks take you so that the next time you go to quote a project, you know exactly what you should be charging for it. These are little like mistakes you have to make along the way to clear up what it looks like to be in business successfully moving forward.
I agree. Yeah, for sure. And especially like I'm somebody that I always say that I give my price as a designer, which is not common in my industry, up front, because nobody feels good about not knowing what they're going to be paying. And it causes so much anxiety with my clients. And the analogy that I use is, imagine you went to the mall and you went into a store and nothing's priced. But you know that if you pick up anything and take it to the till, you've already committed to buying it. The time, or like for me, my clients not knowing how much time it's going to take me and have no frame of reference for what I am going to charge them is essentially just going into it blind, right? And that is stressful. Nobody would hire me in that situation, or the people that would just really have to trust that they can afford whatever that bill is under any circumstances. So I find myself in the position of always having to estimate my hours, and everybody's different. Every project's different. So sometimes you do a really good job of it, and then sometimes you don't. But as the years have gone on, I've really had to be like, okay, no, this level of service requires this many hours. This level of service requires this many hours. It's going to take me this long, and you have to get a feel for who your client is too, because different clients take longer than others because of their personalities.
Totally. And you have to resist the temptation to do girl math on it. Like to be like, well, you know what? In an ideal world, this would take me 5 hours. Well, in an ideal world is not reality, like you have to assume that we're in a normal world and not an ideal world, and that there's going to be some like hurdles along the way. So tack on a couple extra hours because that's more realistic.
Exactly. And you'll feel better about it. You'll be happier within your clients' relationships about it. They will only sign up if they are comfortable with your price, and they get to know that in advance. And your ideal client is comfortable with your price. That's the trick, right? Is that being super transparent from the beginning is key.
The other thing I have on my list is not accepting that it's time to pivot.
Totally.
Like early on in one of our businesses, we were like, oh, it feels like we're banging our head against the wall. And it is such a fine line, because it's like you do have to stand firm in whatever product or service you're selling. But at what point are you accepting the feedback and saying like, okay, maybe I need to adjust this a little bit. Maybe this isn't the exact fit for this industry or for my ideal client. And maybe I do need to tweak it a tiny little bit, but like insisting that you stay down the lane that you're in because you're already in that lane is a huge mistake in business. You do have to accept the feedback from the people that are going to be buying.
You do. And also you have to be willing to be, I don't know what the word is, like not humble, but
not take it personally.
Yeah, you can't take it personally, or you can't be like, I messed up. I had it all wrong here. This isn't the product or service that somebody wants. You have to be willing and open to listen to like, what does the product or service? Am I close, or is this a sinking ship, and really reevaluate? Because when you put your whole heart into something and then it doesn't go, which happens to people all the time. This is real. This is real life. This is business. Or your prices are too high, or your prices are sometimes too low. Like there's such a thing as your prices being so low that people are like, they're obviously terrible at this. They're obviously a beginner.
Okay, but I will say that like the way that marketing has gone, or like, I don't know what you would call it, but a lot of businesses are like, charge your worth and do all this stuff. And so I see it often where people are like, I want $7 billion for this service. I've never sold it before. I'm brand new to the game and I want all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, doesn't everybody want $7 trillion for their services? But like, you got to get realistic. But I do feel like there's a bit of like a trend right now in the marketing world where people are like, don't charge $100 an hour when you're worth, $3,000 an hour. But you have to grow. You have to grow with your prices. You don't just get to enter the market and declare that you're $1 million man. Sure. You have to earn that spot.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And I also think your market will tell you. Your market will tell you. And it is a fine line on building yourself, your brand, your product, your profile up enough to earn those next steps, right? It's a staircase. It's not a like elevator where you just get off at the top. And I think a really good example of this, and somebody that gives great advice on it, is Gabby Bernstein. She says that when, like, for instance, with public speaking, if you would like to be a public speaker, you might have to speak for free at the beginning. And then free speaking engagements will lead to small payment engagements. And then small payment engagements will lead to medium-sized payment engagement, and you will work your way up that ladder. But you're not just going to be Brene Brown and get on the stages every time you put your application in, and you're not going to get paid $50,000 per, or $100,000
on your first speech. Yeah.
Per speech. Like, that is something you earn, no different than anything else. And so, but I do believe that if you don't one day stop charging or don't stop saying, I speak for free, you'll always speak for free.
Totally.
If you don't come up with a rate and look for paid opportunities, you'll always just be somebody that speaks for free. So it's such a fine line of going between I deserve it all, because in your heart you can feel like you deserve it all and you will get it all, but you have to work towards that goal. You have to have your number in mind, have your dream thing in mind, but you also have to manage your audience. If you want to have retreats and you found that people will pay $1,500 for your retreat or $2,000 for your retreat, inch it up slightly. If you'd like to get $2,200, or inch it up, but don't go straight to $10,000 because your audience that you've built was really comfortable at $2,000 or
totally
$3,000. So you have to go in steps. That's like the number one thing that I think is hard to digest, because you look around and you see other people
selling retreats for $10,000.
Yeah. And you're like, well, it filled up. Like, why can't I do that? And you can, just not yet. Just not until
it's kind of like Ford and Tesla, like Tesla gets to charge that number because they were kind of the first to have that make and model, or, that style of car, an electric vehicle that doesn't run on gasoline. And they get to be there. You don't get to be a beginner in the market and be like, be the Ford Focus and be like, why aren't we charging $150,000 a car? Well, you're
for sure
two different cars and you're for two different markets.
Different marketing packages.
Totally.
Tesla went and marketed themselves to be something innovative, different, unique, smart, all the things. And then Ford is just doing what Ford does, which is being steady Eddie, all the things.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so what is your one and final, what would you consider your biggest mistake in business, or your one piece of advice you want our listeners to know?
This kind of leads into it, is comparing where you're at with other people and feeling down in the dumps about it. Because the thing is, just like having to build your career up and take the stairs, you can't look at somebody who's been on that staircase for 20 years and you're on it for a month and a half and think you're going to be at the same place and make yourself feel bad about where you're at and your progress. Your progress is your progress. You have to show up as yourself, authentically, with your heart guiding the way and your mind guiding the way and your sensibilities guiding the way, and do the things that feel right to you, but know when it's time to slightly elevate and then slightly elevate again. But don't compare people who are way further down their journey than you are, because it's a losing streak. There'll always be somebody with more speaking engagements, making more money, whatever it looks like.
What's
yours?
My biggest one is not trusting my intuition. When something feels off in my world, personally or in business, ignoring the little nudge in my heart to be like, something's not right here. Something doesn't feel right. You get anxiety when you're around this person, or you get anxiety when you have to, call a certain client or whatever it looks like, a business partner, whatever that little niggling in your belly is, listen to it, because that knows more than anything in the entire world. And I don't believe in your mistakes define you at all. I think that mistakes are necessary to learn learn from, and they make you exactly who you are and what you are and where you are. But I do think that like, if I can look back and reflect on my journey to date, I always get in the hottest water when personally and in business, when I don't listen to my own intuition.
I agree. I totally agree with that. And like, I already know on the first, now it's so clear to me that I'm even signing the contract being like, shouldn't do this. I'm just doing this one for money, and I know it's not the right thing to do.
I do it about everything though. Like if someone's like, you know what, you should add this color to your logo. If I initially have the like, no, then the answer is no. I don't need to get talked into it. I shouldn't need to get convinced. Like I am so strong in my intuition that I know right away if it's a yes or a no. It's whether I listen to that yes or no.
Exactly. You know? And I know my triggers. Like for me, when there's money attached, I'm way more likely to bend versus like something that's like a style choice or a branding thing. I'm like, no, it's an easy no. And I'm like, that's so not me. That's not how I want to do this. But when it's like, there's that little carrot dangling of something in it for me, like a good payday or whatever, I'm like, oh, we'll just do it one more time.
Oh, same.
And I'll be done, you know, like,
yes.
And so I find myself in that hot water occasionally.
Yeah.
But I honestly know in advance, my stomach told me the first minute that the whole thing started. And to this day, 20 years in, I'm still picking and choosing when I listen. And it's like a muscle I have to flex and I have to practice and like work out constantly because it's hard. But we would love to hear your guys' business mistakes. We all make them. They don't define us. Like, as Jamie said, I think that actually oftentimes, even if you know in advance it wasn't the right thing to do, whether it's like linking arms with the wrong person, hiring the wrong contractor to help do some of the things, whatever is going on in your business, you knew a little bit in advance, you still did it, but you know what? That person taught you something. That person helped you get clear on what you don't want maybe and get clear on what you do want as a result of it. There is a reason that you did it and there is something to take away from it that's positive. So I definitely think that all of our mistakes are actually there to teach us and they're all necessary. So we'd love to hear from you.
Bye guys.
We are so grateful you're here.
It would mean the world to us if you'll subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel and leave us a review.
If you want to hear more from us, go to proofitspossible.com to join our mailing list and find our social links so you don't miss a thing.
Thanks and chat next time.